All right, let's get right into it. We are going to break down the absolute bedrock of all cloud security architecture, the AWS Identity Framework. And let me be clear, this isn't just another service. This is the fundamental model that underpins every single thing you will ever build and secure in AWS.
Look, if you really want to elevate your security game to an enterprise level, this is it. Understanding this framework means you understand how AWS thinks about security. It's the key to the entire kingdom.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the foundational concepts, and then we're going to build up to 3 distinct layers. First up, how we secure our people. Then, how we secure our machines. And finally, how we wrap it all in governance for the entire organization. At the end, you'll see how it all clicks together.
So, at its core, the AWS identity system isn't just one big monolithic thing. It's really a stack of 3 distinct layers. You can think of it like defense in depth, Each layer has a very specific job, and together they create this incredibly robust security model.
Okay, let's start at layer 1. This is the one we can all relate to the most: people identity. This is all about securing your human users, your employees, your developers, your admins, anyone who needs to actually log in and do something in the AWS environment. The whole point of this layer is to create a single, strong, centralized way to authenticate real people. It doesn't matter if they're logging into the visual AWS console or using the command line interface, the CLI. This layer is their front door.
Now, this is absolutely critical. This is where we separate the old risky way from the right way. The legacy approach, this anti-pattern of creating individual IAM users with static, long-lived access keys, that's a massive security risk. The modern enterprise standard is frankly non-negotiable. You use AWS Identity Center for single sign-on, or SSO. This lets you connect to your company's identity provider like Azure AD or Okta, and then grant access using temporary credentials.
So the main thing to remember here is that AWS Identity Center becomes your one and only front door for all human users. It's the central hub for logging in and managing permissions across all your AWS accounts, which makes that old model of using IAM users for people completely obsolete.
Okay, so our people are secured through SSO. Let's move up the stack to layer 2, machine identity. We're not talking about people anymore. Now we're talking about securing our workloads, how our applications and services get permission to talk to each other. So machine identity is the authorization framework for all your non-human stuff. A classic example, you have an EC2 instance that needs to read an object from an S3 bucket, or maybe a Lambda function needs to write data to a DynamoDB table. These resources need an identity, and they need permissions, and this all has to happen automatically, without a person involved. And when it comes to the best practice here, it's crystal clear. There is one right answer. You exclusively use IAM roles. These roles work with the AWS Security Token Service, or STS, which is a service designed for one purpose: to generate temporary, short-lived credentials whenever they're needed. Honestly, this right here is the heart of the entire AWS security model. You could argue that IAM roles are the single most important security component in all of AWS. Why? Because they completely get rid of static credentials. There are no permanent access keys that can be leaked or stolen. The credentials are automatically rotated, which is a perfect fit for zero-trust security principles.
All right, let's zoom all the way out to our third and final layer, account governance. This is the big picture. This is where we lay down the unbreakable security rules, the guardrails that apply to every single account across our entire organization.
The whole purpose of governance is to give you central management and enforcement. It's the mechanism that makes sure your company's security policies are applied everywhere, consistently, no matter what team or what project is using a particular AWS account.
And 2 core services make this happen. First, you have AWS Organizations, which lets you group all of your accounts into a nice hierarchy. And second, you have Service Control Policies, or SCPs. The best way to think of an SCP is as the ultimate highest priority access control list for your entire AWS footprint. It's a rule that nobody, and I mean nobody, can override.
And this is where their real power shines. With SCPs, you're not just detecting problems, you're preventing them. For example, you can write a policy that flat out denies anyone, even a root user in a member account, from disabling a critical security service like guard duty. You can prevent logs from being deleted. You can make it impossible for an S3 bucket to ever be made public. This is your first and most powerful line of defense.
Okay, so we've walked through all 3 layers individually.
Now, let's put it all together and see how these pieces combine into one unified security architecture.
So here it is, the complete picture. For people identity, our tool is Identity Center for SSO. For machine identity, it's IAM roles with temporary credentials from STS. And for account governance, we use AWS organizations with SCPs. You can see it so clearly here. Each layer has a specific responsibility and a core AWS service designed for that exact job.
Now, if you come from a traditional networking or on-prem security background, these analogies can really make things click. An IAM policy, it's just like a firewall ACL. An IAM role is basically a Kerberos ticket, a temporary rotatable credential. Identity Center is your enterprise Active Directory combined with an SSO portal. And an SCP, that's your global, top-of-the-list, deny-all rule that nothing else can bypass. It's really a perfect mapping of classic security principles to the cloud.
So let's just quickly recap the absolute must-knows. First, AWS Identity is a 3-layer architecture. Second, it's simple. People use SSO and machines use IAM roles. Third, using IAM users with static keys for people is a dangerous anti-pattern. Fourth, IAM roles are the true core of cloud-native security. And finally, SCPs are the ultimate permission control for your entire company. So there you have it. That is the architectural blueprint for modern AWS identity and security. Understanding these 3 layers is without a doubt the most critical step you can take to building secure, scalable, enterprise-grade systems. So the real question is, now that you see the framework, are you ready to truly master how it works?